All right, welcome back to the IMNerd Podcast, guys. We are here for episode 19. We are leaving our teenage years behind. This is the last of our teens. And we're going to be talking about the N64 today. So all of you, I'm sure if you're a nerd, you've heard of N64. Hopefully you've played N64. Has a lot of incredible titles on it. And it's one of the most iconic gaming systems ever created. Definitely a step above with the generation before it, which I guess would be like the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, all of that stuff. But Nintendo 64 was revolutionary in a lot of ways, both graphically, sonically, and gameplay wise. Everything about it was insane. So we're just going to jump right into it.
Yahoo!
All right, you know what? How about before we jump into it, I am Oddjob from 007 GoldenEye.
You're a piece of shit. You're just a piece of shit. That's what you are. You're just an absolute piece of shit. But I, Falco Lombardi, the ace pilot of the Star Fox team.
Oh, okay. So you're going back to when Falco was not even a fighting game character yet.
The ace pilot of the Star Fox team.
Yeah, I like the Oddjob because like you said, I am a piece of shit. I want to win. And I knew what I had to do to win back in the day when first-person shooters were literally just basically GoldenEye before the days of Call of Duty.
Dang, GoldenEye and then Perfect Dark.
Yeah, I never played Perfect Dark though. What is that? What is that about?
It's GoldenEye.
It's just GoldenEye.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really long time since I've played either. From what I remember, they're basically the same game. There's always people that'll tell you Perfect Dark's better, and other people will say GoldenEye's better. From what I remember, they're pretty much the same game. I think Perfect Dark is probably a little bit more technically sound because it came out after, but they're the same game.
It basically was a clone of GoldenEye, but they probably improved upon some things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never played that one. But the N64 has Smash Bros, Pokemon Snap, Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda, Mario
Majora's
64,
Mario 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. You said Pokemon Snap? I don't know if you said Pokemon Snap.
Yep, Kirby
Crystal Shards, Yoshi Story.
Yep.
Superman 64. One of the worst games ever made.
Holy shit, I did play that though. I used to love I loved Superman 64. You got to like fly around and smash into the ground, fucking punch cars, and the cars would just go flying. The graphics were god awful, but I loved flying around. That was my thing. Like any game that allowed you to have I guess an open world. This is way before the crazy open world games that we have now, like Breath of the Wild. This is like very limited because you're just pretty much in one city, Metropolis. Yeah. But I still love the idea of being able to fly around wherever I wanted to fly around and do whatever I wanted to do, like a sandbox game. That's basically how I treated Superman games. I never did the objectives, whatever they were.
For me, I guess the advent of like open world games, I don't think they ever get referred to as open world games. Maybe there's some technical reason why they're not. But like Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Ocarina of Time, like they all feel like open worldy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they are. They definitely are because you have so much freedom. When I think about Ocarina of Time, damn, the world of Ocarina of Time is pretty big though.
Yeah.
So like I'm thinking about how small the Superman game was, but Ocarina of Time is like I haven't played it in over 10 years, but in my head, it's a really big free roaming world.
It is really big. I mean, not if somebody boots up Skyrim and they're like, oh, that's just small. Like, no, it's nowhere near as big as Skyrim or some shit, right?
Yeah, don't be an asshole.
But no, Ocarina of Time is pretty damn big.
Yeah.
You get to run around and have fun.
Yeah, you get to choose if you want to go back in time, like 7 years. I think it's 7 years.
Yep. And, I'm pretty sure it's 7 years. You go forward and backwards in time. Also, there's it's a little bit hard, but you can dungeon out of order. It's something like a lot of Zelda fans talk about. Like, which Zelda games can you dungeon out of order?
Is this like some glitchy kind of shit?
Not necessarily glitchy. It's just because there are glitchy stuff. But
yeah, I know that people can like beat the game in
one thing that some people complain about on either side. It's either whether or not, like, if you play a Zelda game, whether or not the Zelda game forces you to like play all the dungeons in a order. Yeah. Some Zelda games have like a point of openness where you can do certain dungeons in any order you want.
Yeah.
And Ocarina of Time is kind of like that. Ocarina of Time, the last two childhood dungeons you can do in any order you want, and when you're an adult, you can do. I feel like you can do basically any.
The I know you have a lot more freedom as an adult.
Yeah, after you get the bow from the Forest Temple, you can basically do any dungeon in any order.
And I have, because I played Ocarina of Time a million times, I have purposely gone out of order, and it does. Certain parts are harder if you try to do that. Like blatantly, if you don't have certain stuff that you would normally have earlier, it's just more difficult to do those later dungeons, like the Spirit Temple. I think one of them is it the Soul Temple? I know there's a Spirit Temple for sure, but I can't remember all the last temples in Ocarina of Time. The Spirit Temple and the Shadow Temple, those are like the two last temples usually.
Yeah.
But I have done them out of order, and I remember thinking like, holy shit, like a lot of this is much harder when you do it like this. Like just doing it out of order just changes everything.
Yep.
I've even tried to fight, I call it Volgilia, but I don't know the actual, because that's my child name for it when I didn't know how to really pronounce things. But the Fire Temple's boss, the dragon that goes inside the ground and stuff, I used to fight that thing without using the Megaton Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not easy. Like
nope.
Flat out, beating that thing without using that hammer is actually so hard.
Yeah, it's a girl, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's interesting. Well, something that's kind of funny about Ocarina of Time is like a lot of the bosses are pretty easy once you know like their trick. But if you try to beat them in any other way, they can be fucking annoying.
Yeah, like she is easy if you just hit her on it. Like, you know, it's basically what's that game? Whack-a-mole. It's basically whack-a-mole. Like that is the mini game that you're playing when you fight that boss. But if you try to fight it outside of whack-a-mole, good fucking luck.
Good fucking luck. I'm going to be re-going through that game soon because one of our patrons, a fucking legend, Big Leon, he gave me a Nintendo 64 and like 20 N64 games pretty recently.
Yeah.
And an HDMI hookup and everything. So I have a lot of the games that we're going to talk about. I actually now have, which, you know, I had when I was younger, but time, not only does time heal all wounds, time loses things. Time just fucking.
It does. Yeah, I've owned every single gaming system pretty much from PlayStation 1 up till now. And a lot of the older ones, I think they're just at my dad's house, but like I've never gone back to check. They might be in the basement. I'm pretty sure at one point in life, between the last 15 years, the basement has been flooded, so they're probably just destroyed.
Yep.
But I used to have like Sega Genesis and like a ton of games on that. GameCube, like everything, like Dreamcast. I've had everything, and I've had tons of games on every system.
Dude, I remember
you were there right now.
Speaking of leaving systems at other people's houses, I remember when you lived in that one apartment, I just like left the GameCube at your house for a year.
Yeah,
because I had literally 4 GameCubes for Melee. Yeah,
just a GameCube with Melee, which is an extremely expensive game to just own now, like an original copy of it. Yeah, that's how it was.
Do you have a favorite? My bad, my fucking brain completely stopped working. I was Menma again.
Not Menma.
But what's like when you think of the N64 games, so I'm not necessarily asking what are your favorite N64 games. I'm asking what are the first N64 games you think of when if you're like out hanging out and somebody talks about the N64, what are the first couple games that'll come to your mind?
So immediately Smash Bros, right? Because that is like, again, when we had the Smash Bros episode, that commercial where they're all the grown people dressed in those big ass costumes, you and me, and me and you, like that whole thing, that was, I remember being a kid and seeing that commercial. So Smash Bros is a really big deal for me. My friends, we played it every single day for a long time.
Yep.
So I think about Smash Bros a lot. I think about Ocarina of Time a lot because there was a period where I didn't know what the fuck I was doing in Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
When I was really, really young. And then I don't know what happened, but I guess I got smarter and I got older and I went back to it and I was able to just like beat the entire game, start to finish, didn't need a strategy guide, just kind of using intuition, was able to like go through the entire Ocarina of Time and find everything. I'm talking about getting the ice arrow, like everything, like all the secret areas, the fire arrow, like shooting the sun, getting the fire arrow, like just doing I felt like everything that you could do, I basically was able to do, and get the big Goron sword, like securing that.
Yeah. Something funny about Ocarina of Time, you mentioned like you struggled on that game a lot, right? I remember having that game, and basically every time I got to the point where you would become an adult, restarting the game, because I guess it was like too hard for me or whatever. Like when I was a kid, I remember just not being able to beat the Forest Temple. And so I'd get to the Forest Temple and I would erase my save and then I would start over from the beginning. And I replayed the first beginning of that game so many times, right? I was never able progress. And then one day, this kid on my block, he was older than me. I think I might have talked about him on the Pokemon episode. I don't remember. But if I didn't, the real quick story is this is the same kid that I had a Kadabra when Pokemon Red, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Pokemon. You can like if you trade it, that's how it evolves in the Alakazam. Like trade it to me and I'll trade it back." So I traded him my Kadabra, and then he just unplugged the link cable. And he was like, "You're beat," and I was like, "Oh, cool." And he was like older. He was like 5 years older than me. What could I do about it? Anyway, I let him borrow my Ocarina of Time, and he didn't steal it. He actually gave it back. But I let him borrow my Ocarina of Time at one point, and he beat the game, and then I got it back. And so, funny story, I actually beat the final boss of Ocarina of Time before beating Ocarina of Time. What I mean by that is he beat the game, his save file was still on there, and I remember his character's name was Steven. And I remember I booted up his save, and like the very end of the game, he was at Ganon. And so using his save, I fought Ganon. And I remember one thing that was so cool and having so much fun, but also hating it so much because it said like the part where Ganon's trying to like kill you, Navi's like, Steven, I can't help you.
Yeah.
And, like, instead of it saying Link. And that was one of the biggest things that motivated me to go back and actually beat the game myself.
Yeah, get that shit done on your own.
Beat it my own. Yeah.
You know what's funny? You say that. I didn't recall this memory, but you brought it back to the forefront of my mind. When I was a kid, my dad had a friend named Boo, who was our barber. He was like a house barber, so my dad would call him over. He would come cut our hair, but he would also play my dad in like Madden and shit like that. He would beat my ass in Tekken, and he also was a mastermind in like every other game. Like basically, this was a guy who was a nerd but an adult, and I didn't realize it until like he one time. I don't know if he left his Zelda cartridge at my house or he let me borrow it, but his Ocarina of Time file, I had access to it, and it was the same exact thing you're describing.
Yeah,
I loaded up his file, and his name was Boo, like Boo, and it literally loaded up at the bottom of the temple or the castle where you fight Ganon. So Ganon is above, and you can hear Ganon charging up that light attack that he does and throwing it. And like you, obviously, when you're far below, you can't get hit by it, or maybe you can, but like you just kind of run around.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you have to climb up, and then that's when you can like fight Ganon. That's the final battle. So every time you load his file, it started off right there. You could just leave out and then go explore the world. And I remember doing that, and I remember seeing like the world is really fucked up because this is before I even became an adult in my own game. So this is like my introduction to Ocarina of Time. So I would like leave out, and everything is like dreary and dark, and the world looks terrible. I'm like, what the? Why is his save file so like evil? Like, what the hell happened in this game? Because like as a kid, like things are a lot nicer looking, and then when you send yourself 7 years into the future, everything looks awful. You get those like zombie things and all that.
Those things are so fucking scary when you're a kid.
When you're a kid, like a lot of the places honestly scared the fuck out of me.
Because also like they freeze the screen, like you can't move. It's like and you're like and oh my god, they're so scary.
I don't know why they put that effect into the game where you just get frozen like that, but that shit is not okay. But I have this similar experience where I basically saw the end of the game before I ever really played the game.
Same. What's cool is that even though you see the very end, it doesn't spoil the rest of the game. Like I didn't know that didn't make it so that I knew how to beat all the other temples or even knew what they were.
Yeah.
It was just something that inspired me to like, same. It's just something that inspired me to go back and really run through it.
But another game that's like, so that really, when I think about the N64, I spent hundreds of hours on this with my cousins, was No Mercy, the wrestling game.
The wrestling game, yeah.
We would customize our characters, and we would give them all their moves. So I was a big Triple H fan, and I was a big Undertaker fan as a kid. So I had the Long Way to Hell. I had what's it called? The Pedigree from Triple H. I had the Choke Slam from like Kane and / Undertaker. I had the Tombstone. Like my character was crazy. He had long black hair, like really long black hair, like the Undertaker. Sometimes he had a mask or like face paint. He wore all black. But yeah, that game was amazing. You got to customize every single thing. You got to customize your side B, your side A, your up B, your up A, your back A, your back B, like everything. You got to customize your grapples, what all your grapple moves did, what all your tightrope moves did, what you did when you threw somebody against the tightrope, what moves you had. So I would give them like the Hardy Boys. And
God, I love the Hardy Boys.
Yep, the Hardy Boys. Then when there was a table, it would be like Devon, get the tables. Like we would do the D3 or whatever it was called.
I think it was called a D3.
Yeah, I took every popular move and put it
or
on my
3D.
character.
I think it was just called the 3D.
Yeah, the 3D. I took every popular move and put it on my character. I had the stunner at one point, like Stone Cold Steve Austin's famous move. I had the rock bottom at one point.
No mercy. Gotta have them. You gotta have them.
No mercy, man. That game, we spent so much time playing that game. I have done everything that you could do in No Mercy. So good.
That's amazing. Oh, that's fucking amazing.
Might be the only real wrestling game that I really like played a lot. I don't think I ever went back to after No Mercy. I don't think I've ever. Maybe I played SmackDown. I remember playing SmackDown.
Yeah, I remember they like in the PS2 era they had like SmackDown versus Raw.
That's exactly what I think I played. One of the ones it was on the PlayStation for sure because I remember it having better graphics, but I remember it not being as fun to me.
Yeah,
like, it just wasn't as fun. Something about it. Maybe I was getting older and I probably was starting to see wrestling for what it was. I didn't really care about it anymore. And it wasn't as fun. I played it for a little bit, but I was like, this isn't No Mercy. It doesn't give me that same feeling where I want to play this for hundreds of hours. It didn't have the same customization level, I think. But yeah, that was my introduction to wrestling games, the 64. And I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid. I don't know if you were into wrestling, but I was actually.
As you were talking, I had a thought. There's you guys know we have guests on every now and then. And I had a thought. There was a friend of mine who I wanted to have a guest on the podcast for a while, but I was like, at the same time, I was thinking there's no reason to have him as a guest in that there's no topic I could really think we could talk about. Then as soon as you started talking about No Mercy, I was like, we could have a whole wrestling episode.
Oh, wrestling is definitely a nerd. That is a nerd fucking world for
I got a homie that could come on here and we could rant about wrestling for hours. So as you were talking about No Mercy, that's what I thought about. Yeah. I fucking love wrestling. I played No Mercy. I played the other 64 one. I think it was called Raw is War.
Raw is War, yeah.
There's a WCW one. There's an ECW one. If you guys don't know, ECW was a wrestling promotion from back in the day. It was actually in Philadelphia. The arena for ECW's, and it's stand for Extreme Championship Wrestling, I think. And they did a lot of hardcore matches and shit like that. But yeah, that was really cool. There was an ECW 64 game from what I remember. But yeah, I am a huge wrestling fan. I completely nerd the fuck out for wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling was huge. Like, I don't know. I used to love Generation X, even though they were kind of like they were the villains. And in my head, they lasted for so long.
Dog, I got in so much trouble because of D-Generation X, DX.
The one to suck it?
The suck it thing in school. Yeah. I got in so much trouble for doing like the suck it, like the X over your fucking dick.
I think I just knew not to do that shit in front of a teacher. Like something just told me, do not, because I went to Catholic school too.
At that time, I went to a Catholic school. I went to Catholic school from first to sixth grade. Not the same Catholic school. I think in that time it was three different schools from first to sixth grade I went to, but they were all Catholic schools. And then in seventh grade on, I went to public school. But I was in a Catholic school when I did that. And I remember I did the suck it to a teacher and it was not good.
Yeah, definitely. If I saw a little boy doing that to a teacher, I'd be like, God, these fucking kids. But wrestling definitely had a huge impact on me. I always wanted to stunner people.
Oh, yeah. My God. I just remembered. So this is still related to the N64, I promise, in a way. So, did your school have like the after school, like the aftercares after school, like if your parents couldn't pick you up yet?
Yeah, we had after school stuff.
Yeah. So I remember I would go to aftercares and it was basically because your parents were still at work. And so, you go there, you do your homework, they give you like a freaking graham cracker and like a hug. And by a hug, I mean the juice. And so you're there, you do your homework, and then you hang out. So anyway, at one point, they started letting us bring our systems. And so I remember I literally would bring my N64 to school to play it after school at aftercares. And we would play the wrestling game and Zelda and Smash and Diddy Kong Racing and all those games, right? But anyway, sideline to that, specifically about wrestling, I remember these two sixth graders at the time. I want to say I was maybe in like fourth grade or third grade. I don't know. These two sixth graders at the time fucking rock bottomed each other through a table and they got expelled from the school.
My God.
But they were wrestling and the one dude like put them in the rock bottom and blow and just slammed them through the table.
Yeah, tables
completely. And it was one of those fold out tables that
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Attached to the table.
Yep. And they break easily though.
Dog. Slammed them straight
They're
through.
Like that fake wood. It's not actually wood, but it has the illusion of wood. Like it looks like it's painted like it's wood.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's just like some fucking particle board, some shit you get from IKEA.
Out of control.
Yeah, good times. That was my introduction to wrestling games, the N64. So when I think about the 64, I guess if I just give out a quick list, I'm just going to think about this off the top of my head too. Smash, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, and it was amazing video games. No Mercy, the Kirby game Crystal Shards, where you could combine like two different powers to get a different power. Diddy Kong Racing, played that a lot at my cousin's house. I always like to use things that can fly. So instead of using like you could choose between like an actual car or a boat like thing or something that could fly.
Or a plane.
Yep, I would always basically choose a plane, even though they probably weren't good. You know,
Nah, they were the shit. The planes were the shit. Also, I love Taj, the elephant. I love when like he comes out. He's like, "Hello, my friend."
Yes.
He's like, "Select your vehicle." Like I love that guy so much. I might get myself in trouble sometimes because I say select your vehicle when you shouldn't. But I will say select your vehicle at random times. But it's just fun. Like I'll just be like, select your vehicle. Because you know how you just say voice lines and shit.
Right? The way you heard it is the way you say it. I've mimicked a lot of things.
I said it, but I remember people get mad at me. They're like, you can't say that, that's racist. I'm like, what do you mean?
Oh God.
Select your vehicle.
Not the PC police. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Smash, obviously. So surprisingly, and a lot of people are going to be surprised about this maybe, but I never played Mario 64.
Oh,
I should say I never played it. I did play it.
Yeah, but you didn't play it.
No, I never played because I didn't grow up on Mario. I grew up on Sonic. So whenever
Sonic, the back of my hair looks like Sonic right now.
It does actually. When I was a kid, I grew up on Sonic. I grew up on Sega, not Nintendo. So when I got a 64, if the game was strictly a Sonic game, strictly a Mario game, I just didn't play it. Like if it was just like Mario, Mario 64 was literally, I would load it up.
Gang Wars.
Right. I would load it up and I would start to play around. And I'm like, this isn't really my thing. And I understand it's one of the best Mario games of all time. But I just didn't grow up on Mario. But I did play like Mario Party and shit like that. And
Mario Party is amazing. Do you have a favorite, or maybe not necessarily a favorite? Do you know what Mario Party did you play the most?
So what's the first one with Waluigi?
I want to say that's like GameCube. I think that's I think the first.
Okay, I definitely played it I played it before Waluigi then.
I'm trying to think. He might have been in Mario Party 3. He definitely wasn't in the first one.
Definitely not in the first one.
Okay, Waluigi's first game was Mario Tennis, which is also a great N64 game. The very first game Waluigi was ever in was Mario Tennis.
Okay.
I don't remember when Mario Tennis came out in relation to the Mario Party games, so I don't remember which one he was the first one in.
I remember playing, because when he was new, like when he was basically first put into a game, I thought he was so cool looking, like an evil Luigi.
Yeah.
And I played that one a lot, but I know I played Mario Party on a Nintendo 64. So if he wasn't ever on a Nintendo 64 Mario Party, then I still played those ones first.
I'm going to just look it up real quick. First, I'm just type in first Waluigi Mario Party. See if I get something. This loads. Oh, so Waluigi is a playable character who made his debut in Mario Party 3. So, wait, he has been playable from 4 and onward? Okay, so I don't know if that means he was in 3. Because it says he made his debut in 3, and it said he's been playable from 4 onward. So I don't know what the fuck that means. But anyway.
Yeah, that's confusing. It's like he was a side character, like he's an assist trophy in Smash games, but not a playable character.
Yeah.
I just remember Mario Party, Waluigi, but I definitely played it on the 64, and I thought it was amazing back then. And I don't know, something about minigames used to be huge back in the day. Like I feel like minigames aren't as big as they were now.
Yeah.
But back in the day, when you would play a game and it had a minigame, something about the minigames was like really fun.
Minigames are crack. You know, recently Bravely Default 2 came out. By recently, it's been a couple months, but came out this year. But Bravely Default 2 had a minigame, that card game, that card/board game.
Yeah.
Man, I put so much time into that game.
I love minigames. We talked about this before, but the Pokemon Stadium minigames, the Lickitung one, Simon Says, what are a site there where you have to cut the log?
Pokemon Stadium was sick because it had those minigames, and it didn't have as many as Mario Party, but it was a cool way to play like that Mario Party experience with your friends and do something different with your Pokemon. Yeah. Like it was a good ass time.
Especially when after you battle your friend like twice, it's like I'm not going to just keep on battling your team over and over again, right? Like we battle a couple times. You see some cool ass moves in 3D, high graphics. It's amazing, but after that, it's like, all right, I kind of want to just like do something that's less competitive. Like the mini games aren't as competitive. You still want to win them, but it's not like
it's just you having fun.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I threw out my fucking Mewtwo. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's just good times. Pokemon
What do
Stadium
you-
1 and 2 are so good. What do I think of?
Yeah, what do you think of the 64? Because there's a lot of 64 games that I like.
Yeah.
I don't know if I played. I don't think I played Donkey Kong 64.
So the first three, I know for a fact, whenever I talk about the 64, the first three that I just rattle off instantly are almost always Zelda, Mario, Star Fox.
Okay,
those are
never
just
played Star Fox before.
Yeah, those are just the first three that I always rattle off: Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, and Star Fox 64. And then I'll usually my brain will go like Majora's Mask, Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, and I'll start naming a bunch of other games. But we haven't talked about Star Fox yet. And Star Fox, I want to say, as crazy as this may sound, it's like if it's not my favorite N64 game, it's in my top 3. Star Fox 64. Dude,
Can you describe what you did in that game? Because I don't know anything about Star Fox.
I
outside of Smash
played that game to death. So it's an on rails shooter. So essentially, in a way, it's similar to a game like House of the Dead. If you've ever gone to like an arcade,
I love those games.
Yeah, you play House of the Dead.
You literally pick up the gun and you like shoot at the screen.
Yeah. But like you don't have free movement to walk around. You're like the game like moves in a direction.
Yeah, like you don't have a choice. Yes.
Yeah, and you're shooting. So Star Fox is kind of like that. Obviously, on the 64, so it doesn't have like a gun attachment. But you're in your R-Wing, and like you can control like your height and on the screen, but you're moving on a path. You're on rails.
Yeah.
And you're shooting all of the enemies and all the shit that's coming. And then you have your co-pilots, Peppy, Slippy, and Falco flying around with you. You go through the missions. You clear the missions, kill a bunch of enemies, and at the end you fight a boss. And it's a really short game. If you know how to play it, like you can beat Star Fox 64 in an hour or 2 hours. It's very much an arcade game. But what gives it so much replayability is that there are branching paths. There's a whole bunch of different branching pathways, and it's like a high score type of game. And it's a fully voice acted. And on the N64 era, that was very fucking rare.
That is huge. Yeah.
So as you're playing, like Fox, Falco, and Slippy, they're all talking shit. Like Slippy's like, Fox, help me. And then like you save them, and Fox is like, I got you, Slip. Slippy's like, thanks, Fox. I thought they had me. And then like Falco flies by, and he's like, if you accidentally shoot Falco, he's like, hey, Einstein, I'm on your side. Like, so they're just talking shit the whole time.
I've heard a lot of those Star Fox lines be memed to death. Like, so I've never played the game, but I've heard the Rabbit speaking before. I've heard Falco speaking before.
Yeah.
I've heard Fox. I've heard a lot of the lines from the game without ever having played the game. So there must be like a lot of memeable lines from that shit.
You do. So, I mean, the internet, one of the oldest memes before they were called memes, do a barrel roll.
Is that from Star Fox?
Yeah, that's Peppy. Do a barrel roll. Like, that's from
shit.
Star Fox 64.
Shit.
So,
you know there's a Yu-Gi-Oh card called Do a Barrel Roll?
No way.
Yes. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
I did not know that. Yu-Gi-Oh made a meme card? What the hell?
I just sent it to you on Discord.
All right, let me look at that real quick. I'm about to look on Discord. Look at this. Do a barrel roll.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh card. Oh shit! And it's like a little Star Fox spaceship thing.
It's blatant. Like, it's very blatant. It's literally called Do a Barrel Roll. Like, you can't mistake it for anything else.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's what's up.
And it's a counter trap. But yeah, I didn't know that came from Star Fox. So that's something interesting to know.
Yeah, that came from Star Fox. I, at a time, knew I could recite the entire script of that game as I'm playing through. I've played it so many times. Like I said,
and you said it's short too.
It's like an hour to 2 hours long. But what's cool is, so you start off in Corneria, which is the first stage, right? And you beat the stage, whatever. But what's really interesting is that almost every stage has an alternate way to beat it, and it'll give you a secret path to a new level. So I played the game like 500 times without ever knowing that there was another way to beat other levels. And then so like the very first level, there's a part where Falco is getting chased by a bunch of different starships, and you got to save him. If you don't save him, his ship ends up breaking down, and he has to retreat to get his ship repaired. If you do save him, though, he says, I guess I should be thankful. And then you continue the level. But even then, nothing happens. But if you save Falco, and then there's a part in the level where there's little hoops, if you perfectly fly through all of the hoops, Falco says, like, pretty smooth flying, Fox. And then if you make it through all of them, he'll say, follow me, Fox. And then it'll take you on an alternate path.
Oh, shit.
And you go through an alternate path, and there's a completely different boss for the first level that like there's no way to even know about unless you do like these things.
I like that.
You fight this boss, and it brings you to a completely different second level than where you usually go. And all of the levels have these alternate victory conditions that'll bring you to different branching paths, see different parts of the story, different worlds. And then when you finally get to the end, there's like the true ending where if you don't get the true ending, you make it to Venom and you fight Andross, who's the final boss. And when you beat him, he turns into like a robot. And they're like, what the fuck? And then like you beat him, and then
is he like a big head? Just like
he's just like a big ass monkey head.
Yeah.
And then when you kill him, he turns into like a robot face, and you got to kill him again. And you're like, what the hell? And then you watch the credits, and when the credits end, Andross' face shows up, and he starts laughing at you. And you're like, what the hell? And then the game ends. But if you beat the game and finally find the secret path and make it to the true ending, you fight Andross, you fight his true form, you kill him, and then like you get the true ending and shit. The game is so cool. You can high score run the game. It's a game where every time you beat it, you get a score, and then you put your name in. And I remember,
so your friends can compete with you too.
Your friends can compete with you. I remember at a time, I used to tell my friends, I'll give you $5 if you can even make it into the 10th spot. If you can make it on the 10th spot of my leaderboard, I'll give you fucking $5.
The cockiness.
Because I played that game so much, I had just like
your scores were just crazy.
High, like so many high scores. Yeah, and I was like, I like be 10th place.
Get on the leaderboard.
Get on the leaderboard because I fucking played the shit out of that game. I had a friend come over years later. This is like we at this point we have the PS3 and the Wii. I had a friend come over to my house. He was talking shit, and he was saying like how he's the best at Star Fox and all this other stuff. And I was like, I've been waiting my whole life for this. Yeah, I fucking invited him over, and I was like, become number 10, become number 10. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't even. He was like, what the fuck? I didn't let him look at my leaderboard. I was like, no, just play. And then like at the end, you'll see, and that you're not number 10. Like you know what I mean? But Star Fox 64, I adore that game. I played it so much. It's so fun. So much replayability. You almost make
me want to play it. Like I
can
emulate it on my PC.
There's so much replayability to it, and you can beat it quickly. It's not, it's so fun. It's such a good game.
What?
Also, fun fact. I might have talked about this in the Smash Bros. Episode. Actually, I think I did. But in the versus mode, you couldn't pick your character. Your character was dependent on what slot you were in the 64. Okay. So in versus mode, I would always put my controller in the player 4 slot because that's the only way you could use Falco. And so I would always want to be Falco in the versus mode because he was my favorite character. In Melee, my Melee main is Falco ever since I was a kid, before tier list existed, because I just loved Falco. And my entire life, whenever I've played Melee, and it's become a tradition, whenever I play Smash in general, I always put my controller in the 4th slot. Because in Melee, I would put my controller in the 4th.
You had a connection to Falco prior to Smash.
Oh,
Which is interesting, because you main Falco in Smash. Now, luckily for you, Falco was good in, like, Smash. Like, he's a good Smash character. He's one of the best in Melee. And in Ultimate, he's actually really good now after a lot of buffs. But I didn't know that you actually had a connection to him outside of just Smash. Like for example, I like Marth in Melee, but I have never played a Fire Emblem in my life. But I still love Marth, right? Like I love him; he's amazing. Yeah. But I can't say that I have any connection to him outside of Smash, which is really I'm kind of jealous of that.
I remember loving Falco, and then when I found out Falco was in the game, because back then it was just different. I had Melee for a period of time, and because the internet didn't exist, or it did exist, but like not really. Like I didn't really have access to it. You would have Melee for a long time before unlocking every single character, just because unlocking the characters had all these different stipulations. And so I had Melee for however long it was before even knowing Falco was in the game. When I found out Falco was in the game, it was all systems go. All systems fucking go to get Falco. And then once I unlocked him, there was no turning back. Like I just used him all the fucking time.
Yeah, that 4th slot thing is pretty cool though to know that. Like I just literally didn't know that was a thing.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about one of the most controversial games on N64, which is Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Whoo, baby.
So when I was a kid, the first time I had ever played it, I believe my grandma walked in the room, or like she walked by, and she heard a bee that was like a honeybee. And they be cursing and saying all kinds of sexual innuendo. And like there's a lot of fucks and shits, and there's a lot of toilet humor. There's Matrix references, like a lot of sex. Like it's a lot. Drugs.
It's a lot.
There's a lot. in that game.
That bee straight. He's like this king. He's the king bee, and he gets thrown out of the hive by the queen bee because he cheats on her. And then there's this there's this sunflower. There's this sunflower that has huge titties. It's a gigantic tittied sunflower, and he's like the king bee's like, "Oh, I want to fucking pollinate her." He's like, "Hey, you, why don't you go over there and get that bitch to let me pollinate her?" Like he's just.
I remember so many crazy things. My best friend at the time, Jonathan, my best friend from school, because we went to school together, and eventually we started to hang out after school. He was obsessed with Conker's Bad Fur Day, and he would like talk about it all the time before I ever played it. I wasn't really interested at first, and then I came over his house one time, and he started playing it, and I'm like, "Yo, this game is crazy."
Yes, it is.
Like the Matrix and stuff, and how you could like do the slow motion dodges and all of that. I don't know how they got some of the rights to do the things they did, or like how they got away with having a game like that on
I don't know either.
Because that game, you don't talk about
that was rated M4 mature. There was so much stuff. I remember after the king pollinates the bee, pollinates the flower, she's like sitting there and she got her titties out, and you have to, in order to progress to the next area, you have to bounce off of her titties. And I remember she says, "Conker, honey, you want to go for a bounce?"
That game, I want to play it again just because I don't remember all of the crazy shit, but there's so much from Conker's Bad Fur Day that is like insane. Like literally just a world of shit. Like there's just a place you go to and there's just shit everywhere.
It's like Pooh Mountain. Do you remember? So you know Thwomps from Mario, the big like essentially metal or stone blocks, right? That slam down.
Yeah. And they have a face, right?
Yeah. So in Conker, they're not. I don't think they're called Thwomps, but there's Thwomps in like one of the first areas. Yeah. So there's a boy Thwomp and a girl Thwomp, and the girl Thwomp is like on top of the boy Thwomp, and because she's like scared of like this rat running around. When you walk up, he's like, "Hey, you! If you don't get this fat bitch off of my back," he's like.
Does he actually say that?
Yes. He's like, "Get this fat bitch off of my back."
That game is crazy.
It's so good.
And that's one of the top games on 64. Like
it's one of so fun.
It's top 10 easily.
It's one of the best like collectathon type games, like Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
Like those style of games, like Conker. So Banjo-Kazooie is made by Rareware. Donkey Kong 64 is made by Rareware. Conker's Bad Fur Day is also made by Rareware.
That was like the same feel too.
That was like their style. And so I truly, Conker is, all three of those games are great. But then Conker was like this adult spin on that formula, but also they just made the game so damn fun. The multiplayer mode was amazing. I think Conker's multiplayer modes are way better than Donkey Kong's and Banjo's multiplayer modes.
You kind of fought. You could fight in the multiplayer mode, right?
Yeah, there was like an FPS mode where it was called It's War, and you could either be the teddies or the squirrels.
The
and
teddies,
go on a little map.
Those evil ass teddy bears.
Yeah, and you could go on a map and fight. There was cavemen versus raptors, where there was like 2 raptors and like 8 cavemen, or 4 cavemen or something. You could run around. There was a bunch of modes. There was one called Beach. It was based on Saving Private Ryan, and basically you could either
Conker has on his little military outfit with the helmet on.
Yeah. And the one multiplayer mode, you were either the teddies and you were up in like turrets and like in a military camp, and you had like these turrets and all these guns, and you were shooting down at the beach, or you were the squirrels, where you're on a boat that landed on the beach, and you have to run up the beach and make it to the safe zone without getting killed by the teddies. It's really freaking cool. Really, really cool multiplayer mode.
Damn. I slightly remember these things as you're saying them, and I had so much fun playing all of that shit as a kid.
Yeah.
I remember picking up, like, there was a sword you could get.
Yeah, yep.
I remember my one friend.
And a chainsaw.
Yep. My one friend, he liked to be the Matrix characters, so he would always have them, like, I don't know how we would do it, but he would always play where we would have the Matrix costumes on.
The cheats. So the cheats in that game, you go to a cheat menu, and you enter cheats. I still remember a lot of them. Like there was beef curtains was one of the cheats.
Well, that just sounds crazy.
that was the cheat.
That just sounds wild.
That unlocked. I forget who that unlocked. Then there was Rusty Sheriff's Badge. Rusty Sheriff's Badge unlocked the Sergeant Squirrel and the Sergeant Teddy, I think. There was a Welly's Top, or like Welly Top. I think unlocked the Grim Reaper.
Yep, I remember the Grim Reaper. The one-hit kills.
There was a bunch. You could unlock like normal Conker in versus mode. You could unlock Matrix Conker.
Neo, yep.
Yeah, Eat Box was one. It unlocked a bunch of different cavemen. So yeah, there was a bunch of that shit.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off. If you put in the wrong cheat, right? If you put in the wrong cheat code, the guy would go like. And if you put the exact same code in again, he goes, didn't work first time, ain't gonna work second time, dipshit.
Not the game cursing you out. Was that game? I'm assuming, like you said, it had a rating on it, right?
Yeah, it was rated M. It was rated M for mature.
Okay, my friend's mom must have bought it for him because I didn't actually own the game. He had it, did everything you could do except beat the final boss, and he let me borrow it. So what happened was he literally couldn't figure out how to beat the final boss. And I remember watching him try to beat. It was an alien. Like the final boss was like a alien. And
yep, another movie reference.
Yep, like literally from Alien Resurrection. I remember him trying to beat it. Nothing worked, no matter what he did, because you're inside this big ass robot, right? Like you're inside of some kind of gigantic mech like thing. And I was like, "What are all the things that you can do?" I was like, "Can you block?" And he was like, "Yeah, you can block." And I was like, "Okay, when it does its headbutt, like block." And he blocked that shit, and the alien like slammed into his defenses and got dazed a little bit. And as soon as that happened, he was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "What? That's how you beat it?" And immediately that same night, then you like spin it around like Mario and like you throw it out. But I literally helped him to beat the game because of just asking him like, "What can you do besides just attack?" Because he was just trying to attack.
He was just trying to beat his ass, and he wasn't getting anywhere.
Yeah,
that game, it was rated M. It was so good. I remember the way I first played it was my friend Cheyenne. He came over to my house one time. And he was like, "Yo," and he showed me. He got it from one of his friends. One of his friends let him borrow it, so I don't know how that friend got it. Cheyenne brought it over to my house, and then we played it, and we would just play it all the freaking time. And then one day, like his friend like asked for it back, but this was after like a year of us playing it all the time. But that's how I played it. I didn't have my own copy of Conker, I think, until one of my birthdays. Cheyenne bought it for me and gave it to me for my birthday. But other than that, I used to always just borrow it from people and just play it for hours on hours.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Conker's Bad Fur Day and just like all different modes. You need a moment?
No, I think I'm good.
What do you want to go into now? What game do you want to go into?
I don't know, just ranting around like. So we mentioned a little bit of Pokemon Stadium. Stadium.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say Pokemon Stadium was really fun. The fact that you could connect your Game Boy game, like your Pokemon Red version or Gold version for Pokemon Stadium to Silver, Crystal, Yellow, Blue, whatever. The fact that you had this Pokemon game that you played all the time with all of your friends, and then you could plug it into your N64 with like the attachment, and then actually transfer your Pokemon that you raised into this N64 game, and then use them in this whole other game was
that seemed mind blowing at the time. By the way,
yes,
like it just seemed like something that should have never been. Like when I was a kid and having your Pokemon handheld for several years, and then having them finally come to your TV just seemed ridiculous.
It's so damn cool, man. And then another kind of on that same note, I mentioned Mario Tennis earlier. I played the shit out of Mario Tennis. And I also played the Game Boy Color Mario Tennis, which was basically a full-on RPG. It's actually an amazing game. If you've never played the Game Boy Color Mario Tennis game, just play it. Like, trust me, you'll be surprised at how solid of an RPG it is. And, like, yeah, you play tennis, but I don't know. It's fucking sick. It's not an RPG. Like, it's not a take-turn battle. Like, the battles, so to speak, are tennis. But, I don't know, the progression and the adventure of it is fucking dope. But you could... Because it was an RPG, you made a character in that game. You could connect the Game Boy Mario Tennis to the 64 Mario Tennis and transfer your character into the Mario Tennis 64 and play with them in the 64 game.
I feel like was the 64 the first to really have that compatibility with handhelds? I think
so. And it was so
that's really
damn
cool.
I don't understand. More games should do like I just feel like I don't know. Not enough games did
now,
shit like that.
The Switch is literally that brought to life.
The Switch is that brought to life, but prior to that, like, I don't know why. Like, for example, they stopped making Pokemon Stadium games. I don't know why.
I have no idea why Pokemon Stadium is not on every single Nintendo console.
For every generation of Pokemon there should be a Pokemon Stadium. Like,
there's no question. That shit would sell. I believe that shit would sell like hotcakes. Like,
yeah, 100%. 100%. So,
oh my god, could you imagine Pokemon Stadium on the Switch with the Switch Pokemon games already have pretty decent graphics and everything like that. But like then you just take it
not Sword and Shield. I will not give that game any credit. That game
then don't.
sucks.
Drag it.
That game is trash. It's so bad.
But could you imagine
that? Anyway, moving on. This isn't the Pokemon episode.
Could you imagine though having like even higher graphics and stuff for a Pokemon Stadium version of whatever the current generation of Pokemon is? That would be so cool,
dude. If they,
yeah, I miss Pokemon Stadium. I don't know why it just kind of stopped. What do we get to? Pokemon Stadium 2?
So we have Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, and then there's a pseudo successor in a game called Pokemon Coliseum that came out.
I remember Pokemon Coliseum, although I barely played it, but I do remember that one.
Yeah, so that was
Ruby and Sapphire, right?
That was Ruby and Sapphire, and that was essentially a console-based Pokemon game. Look, it had its own story, its own adventure, and everything. And then you could kind of do like this. You could hook up your Ruby and Sapphire to it and battle your friends. But it was mostly a single-player game with the ability to battle your friends in a stadium-like way, but it didn't have all the things that were like in Stadium.
For whatever reason, I don't think that game did as well.
I don't think it did either. Then there was XD Gale of Darkness, which was the sequel to that, which had Shadow Lugia and stuff, and that was really cool. But once again, it was still in the vein of Coliseum. And then the final like Stadium successor is Pokemon Battle Revolution, was for Diamond and Pearl, and that was more similar to the Stadium games than the Coliseum game, but it just wasn't as good. It felt like a very stripped down version of Stadium, and it just was not nearly as good. Like I felt like there was no real effort and love put into it compared to what Stadium and Stadium 2 was.
Yeah, I feel like after Stadium 2, it started to decline a bit, and they might have realized, okay, well, we're not profiting as much as standard Pokemon games, so they probably just pulled all their resources out of it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because a lot of times companies will do that. Will be like, oh, well, this isn't successful anymore, so we're going to stop it. And it's like, well, it's not that it's successful. It's that you changed what the game was, and that wasn't successful. Like, if you made a Pokemon Stadium 3, it would be successful. But when you make Battle Revolution and it just feels like a shell of a game, like, it's not going to be successful.
But we can pivot over to... I want to talk about Kirby, because this is one of the more low-key games on the 64. It's not one of the mega titles.
Crystal Shards.
Crystal Shards was so fucking good to me. I've never played a Kirby game before that. Oh, you know what? Actually, that's a lie. I think I played something on like Game Boy Advance, one of those Kirby games.
Yeah, there's Kirby's Dream Land for Game Boy, Kirby's Dream Land 2, and there's like Kirby's Adventure.
I definitely played a handheld Kirby game before the 64, maybe after. I don't remember, but the one on 64, because it was 3D and because it was just, I don't know. I was more of a, outside of Pokemon, I was more of a console game player. So like, at home, big TV, that was like my style. Yep. And the Kirby game that came out, I don't even know how I ended up getting it, but I thought it was so fucking cool because you could like eat anything and you would get a power. It would be like rock or ice or electric or fire. And you have a base power from eating something, but then if you ate another thing, so let's say you ate something that was ice and then you ate something that was rock. Now Kirby has ice skates and he gets like a complete new power, and he can just fucking like move. He can move way faster now, like skating through every area. He could jump higher. He slides. He has like an ice slide attack.
You could also double up a power. If you got ice twice, it would be an even stronger ice attack.
Then he would have a fucking big ass snowball that he could create, and like it would get bigger as you would roll it, and I would see how big it could get.
Yep, I remember the fire and bomb turned Kirby into like a firework, and his body would like explode and bounce through the air. And
that one was OP. Some of the combinations were absolutely OP. Some of them were not created equal. For example, electric and rock created a yo-yo.
Yes, like a boulder with electricity on it, right?
Yes, yeah, and it was a bit much. It was a bit much.
That game is so tight.
Yeah, no, Kirby Crystal Shards was fun as shit. I remember getting up to the boss. I didn't know how to beat the boss at first. It was a really long fight. But all the levels were really cool. Absorbing all the powers, finding all the combinations. I remember I almost got to the end of the game, and there was still a combination that I hadn't seen yet. I didn't even realize that I hadn't seen the combination yet. And then I randomly got it. And I was like, what the hell? I've never even seen this before. And then, you get all excited because you're like, this is a whole new thing to go back to every single level and try out now.
Yep. Dude, what's sick, something you just, so, I don't know, it's kind of like, to harken back to Pokemon a little bit, something cool about Pokemon and like that Kirby game and like the sense of discovery, the little, like when you get a power, seeing what the power does. And then when you see that power mixes with other powers, and then seeing all the different combinations of how the power mixes, it's like when you go into a new route in Pokemon and you're like, holy shit, I've never seen that Pokemon before. What the hell is that?
Just excitement.
Like that, those little things are so cool that it's like, because it's that collection things that I want to collect it all.
I want to see everything that the game has to offer.
So yeah, when the powers have all these cool different like I remember one, I can't remember what the combination was, but you turn into a refrigerator and like you open up and like food comes out.
I know exactly. Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. Ice and something. I don't know the other
Yeah, it's ice and something.
Maybe,
you turn into
maybe
a refrigerator.
Ice and electricity. That sounds about like ice and electricity.
Yeah, probably. I think one of them you turn into like a fucking an iron when you
like
iron board,
an
ironing board.
No, I got you. Yeah.
That word's hard to say while you're trying to explain. Like if you say like an iron, that could be 300 different things, right? But anyway, yeah. Kirby Crystal Shards are sick.
Then there were the hard ass Castlevania games.
You know, I love Castlevania. I played Castlevania is super fun. I don't think I've ever played a 64 one though.
I played it briefly and it's hard as fuck, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, I
had fun playing Castlevania games in general. I want to say.
Yeah, Castlevania, like I like a lot of them, but I've mostly only played handheld Castlevania games. Like I played Dawn of Sorrow. I played Circle of the Moon, Portrait of Ruin,
Portrait of Ruin,
Order of Ecclesia, I think it's called, something like that. Most of the Castlevania games I've played have been handheld. What's the one? Not with Simon. I've actually never played the very first Castlevania, but I've played the one with Richter, Rondo of Blood, I think it's called. But yeah, I played a bunch of Castlevania games. But I've never played a 64 one.
What about Mario Kart 64? How did you compare it to Diddy Kong Racing? Because I like Diddy Kong Racing a lot more than I like Mario Kart. I don't know why. Maybe it's because you had like the 3 different vehicle options between the boat, the planes, and the cars.
Also, Diddy Kong, it wasn't an open world, but the fact that it had a hub world was really cool. Like hub worlds were just a cool thing. The characters were cool. Diddy Kong Racing and Mario Kart 64, I think they're both really good games. But
they are for sure.
I did play Diddy Kong Racing more than Mario Kart 64.
I suck at racing games too. Like I don't really know how to play them. Like I'm just not good at them. But
yeah, they're fun. They're fun. I like the what's it called? You can unlock, dude. In Diddy Kong Racing, I don't remember. His name was TT. I'm TT. He was like a clock.
You and the voices.
But he's like a little clock, and TT stood for time trial. And you could talk to him to do the time trial modes, but his name was just TT. Anyway, you could unlock him. But when you would talk to him, a little jingle would play, and there was a piece of the jingle that I swear to God, it was like, celebrate good times, come on. Like, it was like a piece of that. You could ask anybody.
I feel like they got away with a lot of that type of shit back then.
The celebrate jingle in there, I swear to God.
You're probably right. There was Rayman 2, The Great Escape.
Yep. The cartridge of that is green.
I don't remember.
Yeah, like Donkey Kong 64's cartridge was yellow. Most of the cartridges are gray. Like Majora's Mask cartridge was gold. Pokemon Stadium 2's cartridge was gold and silver for the games.
Yep.
Shit like that was really cool.
Let's see what else we got here. We already talked about Conker, Wave Race 64.
How about just in general, the Nintendo 64 itself had 4 controller ports. Like it was the multiplayer machine. Like
it was. That's why the wrestling game No Mercy was so fun to us too, because unlike PlayStation where you had to buy a fucking adapter to have 4 people.
A multi-tap. Remember multi-taps?
Yeah, no. So the 64 where it failed me was having an expansion pack. That was bullshit. Where the PlayStation failed me was having a multi-tap just to get 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
They all had their gimmicks. They all found a way to fuck you in the end. But the 64, being able to have 4 of my cousins, me and 3 of my cousins play No Mercy, and we would like team up on each other.
Yep.
On one screen was so cool. Same thing with Smash. Like the full Smash experience is having 4 people back then.
Yes.
Now you can have fucking 8 and like Smash orgies. But
I remember this is more about Melee, but in Melee, me and my friend Cheyenne, we would be Fox and Falco, and we would always do like us as Fox and Falco versus like whoever or whatever, like whatever challenge was in the game or whatever.
Yeah.
We'd either be Fox or Falco or we'd be Martha and Roy.
One of the Smash games you could play, I feel like I don't know how to call it, like story mode basically together. I feel like I feel like you could go through it with another person.
I think Brawl, you could do that.
Yeah, one of them I feel you go through with another person. That was kind of fun. But were you big into Banjo-Kazooie as a kid?
Yes. I remember I don't remember if it's in Kazooie or Tooie, but there's a carnival world. And I spent an untold amount of hours in that carnival level, just doing all kinds of shit. And I don't know, there might be something wrong with me. I might have some kind of mental deficiency. I've talked about before how when I get in the role playing, when like I'm playing a game and like I become the character and I'm just a full on loser and I'm like in the game. When I was playing Banjo-Kazooie, I remember being in that carnival and just talking to myself and like talking about running, like, oh, we got to run the carnival. And like we would go up and like I remember there was one where you climb up this huge ladder and like jump off into this pool. And in my head, there'd be like a crowd and like, oh my God, I can't believe he's climbing up that ladder. There's no way he's jumping off the ladder into the, oh my God, he jumped. What an amazing jump. He's amazing. I don't know. Just, I spent so much time in that damn carnival. But I played Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie a lot. I played the shit out of those games.
I played them only briefly. So the same way I was a Sonic, Sega Genesis kid, I was more of a PlayStation Crash Bandicoot kid.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to that when we talk about we'll do a PlayStation episode, a PlayStation 1 episode, because it would be unfair to do a PlayStation versus all of, like the 64 versus all of PlayStation. But when we do our PlayStation 1 episode, we'll talk about like Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot and Soul Reaver. These are the games that I was playing concurrently, like while Banjo-Kazooie was out, Banjo-Tooie and all that stuff. But I did play it a bit. And like you said, because I had already played Conker's Bad Fur Day, it had that same feel to us. I was like, oh, this is like kind of like the same game, like in a way, right? Like I could tell, like it was obviously like, but it was. I remember it being such a big deal. Like Banjo-Kazooie was huge when I was a child.
Yeah, it was.
That game was fucking huge.
That game is good, man. There's a lot of worlds. The music is really good. That's something else. The Nintendo, and honestly, Nintendo music in general,
it's so good.
They have so
you just can't even lie about it. You can't hate on it. Oh yeah, when we were talking about Ocarina of Time, I wanted to blurt out the Song of Storms, because in that game you can literally play music. The Bolero of Fire, the songs in fucking Ocarina of Time that you could play are so good that sometimes me and my friend would literally just play the different songs just to hear them.
Yes.
Like, oh, that takes me back.
When you go to the windmill and the guy's like playing the Song of Storms on the thing,
and you make it rain, which is so cool. You can make it rain at any time. And I'm not talking about the strip club. I'm talking about like actual rain.
Yeah. And the windmill speeds up, and he gets all pissed, and the song speeds up.
Yeah.
Also, cool little like paradox is you learn the Song of Storms as an adult from the windmill guy, and he says that a kid came to him and he played that song and destroyed his windmill.
Oh,
and then like you go back in time and you do that. Yeah, and it's like you learn it from him, but apparently he learned it from you.
Yes.
But you can't go there to ruin his day until you learn it from him. It's
the Hodor thing all over again. Bran Stark.
Yeah.
I like that. I fucking love the music. Some Song of Sorrows. There's some really sad songs you could play on Ocarina. Even in is it Majora? No, it's not.
Yeah, Majora's Mask has a bunch of music too.
Okay.
The Song of Healing. They have.
What's the one where you grow the big ass wings and you teleport away?
The Song of Soaring.
Yes. Oh my god, so good. I can literally just listen to the songs you can play.
They're good. Koji Kondo. If you guys don't know, Koji Kondo is the main composer of a lot of the Zelda music, and he's a G.
What's his name?
Koji Kondo.
And well, he's up there with Nobuo Uematsu.
He's the man.
He has to be regarded and revered as one of the best composers, or whatever you want to call it, because the music from honestly all the Zelda games, like don't get me wrong, every Zelda game has amazing music, but because I grew up on Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, obviously I remember those way more. They like speak to me a lot more. Those songs will forever be ingrained into my mind.
They're so good.
Yeah, I just think about some of the music is just so insane.
I just thought of just random. I know you didn't play Mario 64, but to jump over to it.
I did throw penguins, like baby penguins, off the cliffs and shit. Like I did a lot of heinous things. Like I did
that too. I played that game. I remember that's another game because it has a hub world that's basically an open world, and then it has a bunch of different worlds that are you can just do whatever you want in. I spent so much time just exploring that game. I remember being a kid and my mom and one of her best friends actually playing. Like, my mom is in no way a gamer. Like, I think that's the only game she's ever played. But I remember being a kid and my mom and her friend being up to like 2 a.m. playing Mario 64. And just all the exploring you can do and finding different ways to jump on different things. And the absolute betrayal you felt the very first time you're going to the first Bowser level and you see a painting of Princess Peach. So you're running toward the painting, and then Peach turns into Bowser, and then the floor falls out.
Oh my god! I remember. So I would kind of run towards it, then start backing up, and then run towards it and back up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you would try to play with it and see, like, I don't know if it wouldn't turn into Bowser at some point, but it always did.
It always did. And then the endless staircase.
Fuck that.
And you're just like running up it, and it's like
it never stops.
And then the speedrunners figure out a way to fucking glitch their way through it. So
see, I hate them. So I got screwed over because of Final Fantasy VII. And Final Fantasy VII, there's a part when you are pretty much on the exit of Midgar, right? So you're storming the Shinra building, and there's two options. It's like, do we barge it through the front, or do we take the stairs on the side? And when you take the stairs on the side, which is basically you being a bitch and not wanting to fight, you run up several staircases, like just so many. And I mean,
love the way they handled that in the remake, by the way.
Me too.
Dude, it's so good.
Of course, come on. I had to do everything. Yeah. I had to do everything there is to do. But in the original game, you run up the staircases, and honestly, it feels like it's forever. Like, it takes so long. So when I played Mario 64 in my brief time playing it,
oh no,
you see where this is going. I thought I just have to keep going. Like, eventually there is a top, and then after running for probably 20 actual fucking minutes, like, that's actually
crazy.
I'm actually getting cucked here.
Somebody streamed, I want to say like within the last year, somebody streamed themselves running up the endless staircase for 24 hours. Like, it was literally a 24-hour stream of them just holding up on the controller on the endless staircase.
Who the hell watched that? So, I know you are a big advocate of Paper Mario.
Yes.
You fucking love Paper Mario, and that is a 64 game, right?
The first one. The first one is a 64 game.
Yep.
Paper Mario, it's an RPG, and has great mechanics. It's interactive the whole time, which is something that I've really found fun about it. In a lot of RPGs, you pick your move, and then your guy does the move, and that's cool. But the thing that was cool about Paper Mario is that you were constantly active. If you picked your move, let's say you picked a jump, where Mario would go and jump on the enemy. You have to time an A button press to do more damage. So a jump, you would do 1 damage, but if you pressed A at the perfect time, you would do 2 damage. And when the enemies would hit you, you could press A at the perfect time to block their attack, so you would take less damage. And then all the different moves had different commands and timings to keep you constantly in the fight. So you couldn't just pick your move and put the controller down. So that was really fun. Gameplay in that regard was really fun. The story was really cool. It was cool. There was like this storybook world. Music is really interesting. The game is charming. And the writing is actually really good. It's funny. It's colorful. I remember playing through that game with a close friend of mine, Cheyenne again. I mentioned Cheyenne a lot in this episode. Growing up, he was like my main guy that I played all these 64 games with. And so I remember we used to take turns. So in Mario Party, you have not Mario Party. In Paper Mario, you have party members like any other RPG. But in battle, it's only Mario and 1 party member. And so the way we would play is I would be Mario. So we'd go around the world, we'd get in a battle. I would be Mario, and then after I would do my stuff with Mario, I would hand him the controller, and he would be the party member. He would take whatever action the party member would take.
Yeah.
And we would pass the controller back and forth, and we would play the single-player RPG, essentially 2 players, by changing off which character we're using. And then there's this guy called the Master you could fight, and the Master is broken. He's like he's like in Toad Town, and he's so hard. He's one of the hardest fights in the game. You beat him. After you beat him, you fight him like multiple times. You get stuff for beating him. He like turns Super Saiyan, like he turns gold and gets an aura. And he's just really, really hard to beat. And he can beat your ass. And there's a badge. Badges are like abilities and skills that you get called Zap Tap. Zap Tap is the greatest badge of all time. You equip it, and whenever an enemy hits you, they get shocked and take 1 point of damage as well. Zap Tap is the cheese, okay?
That was some tier, like
it was
high tier shit.
tier 0. You put Zap Tap on, and that shit would carry you so hard.
Zap Tap carries.
Zap Tap fucking carries, yo. It was so good. So yeah, Paper Mario was my juice. Paper Mario was
good. We didn't really talk about it, but Pokemon Snap was another big game on a 64.
Yeah.
It changed what I knew about gaming because, like I told you in the Pokemon episode, I didn't really know that I would even like that. My mom got it for me without me asking. It was one of those things like she just kind of brought it home because it was a new Pokemon game. I don't think I was really interested in it like that. Like I would see the commercial for it and be like, okay, whatever. But me being such a competitive person and all that, I wasn't too interested in it. And then like she just got it for me. And I'm like, all right, well, she bought it. I'm just going to play it for a little bit. And I told you, I became completely fucking enamored with that game to the point where I was falling asleep in class the next day because of how late I would stay up playing Pokemon Snap. Just literally taking pictures of Pokemon. The most therapeutic thing you could do. I feel like Pokemon Snap was therapy.
It was therapy. That was a blockbuster game for me. I never owned Pokemon Snap, but I blockbustered it 100 times.
It's so good. I don't know, something about that game is so therapeutic. And I didn't play the new one on Switch, but I kind of just want to like try it.
You should.
Did you play it?
No, I watched so on my stream, Critical Hit Plus,
Anthony played it, right?
I watched Ant play it, who also streams with me on my channel. I watched him play it.
Yep. Yeah, on Critical Hit Plus. So I remember you talking about that, but I have no idea what the consensus was on a new Pokemon Snap game. But I'm actually down to just give it like a nice little 2 hours of gameplay just to see if it has that old feel. The problem is, though, I do not know all the Pokemon anymore. So
yeah.
Back when I played Pokemon Snap, I think there was 150, maybe 250 or something like that. But like now, there's so many Pokemon.
There's like 900.
Jesus Christ, is it really 900?
I'm pretty sure there's not. If there's, it might. It's like cusping 1,000.
I got you for at least 400.
Yeah, it's cusp, dude. I remember when I was working as a landscaper.
Yeah,
we're driving in the truck, and the one guy I work with found out I like Pokemon, and he was like, "There's no way you like Pokemon. You're fucking 24 years old at the time." And I was like, "No, man, Pokemon's the shit." And so he literally goes on Google and he just starts looking up random Pokemon. So he would look up a picture of a random Pokemon, describe what it would look like, and I would say the Pokemon's name. And he'd be like, "How the fuck do you know all of these, you loser?" like I just knew like just about every Pokemon he described, I knew. So yeah. You know what I just thought of though? When you mentioned Pokemon Snap, and then I mentioned it being a blockbuster game. Did you ever play the Rugrats Nintendo 64 game? That was a blockbuster game for me. I remember at Blockbuster, there's a Rugrats N64 game.
I think I did.
That I played the shit out of.
I think I actually did. It looked terrible, but I'm pretty sure I played it.
Yeah, I think it did look terrible.
And I think I had a bit of fun with it, but I don't remember much about it. Like, I can't even say I remember much about it because these now we're going into over 20-year-old memories now.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up real quick. I want to see what I think it's like.
All right, I want to look it up too.
Or something. Rugrats 64. Rugrats Scavenger Hunt.
Oh, there's Scavenger
Hunt. I played
okay.
Scavenger. I know Scavenger Hunt was one. There might have been two, but I know for a fact Scavenger Hunt. I'm looking at the front cover of it, and then so there's Rugrats Scavenger Hunt is one Rugrats game, and then there's Rugrats in Paris the movie game. There's a game for the Rugrats in Paris movie. I played that game a bunch too. I remember running those games from Blockbuster and just playing the shit out of them.
Yeah, I'm looking at gameplay of it right now, and I vaguely remember seeing this, but I don't know if I played it or if my best friend Eric played this. Because there were a lot of games as a kid, like we had different tastes. He was 3 years older than me, so he would probably be playing some shit, and then I would just come over to his house and watch him play it. Because one-player games kind of ruled my life back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, we were big on playing things that both of us could not play. Like, obviously, we played Smash and Diddy Kong Racing and all that stuff, but for the most part, like, you would kind of get the perception that we played a lot of multiplayer games. We really did. We played a lot of single-player games, like a lot of Final Fantasy, a lot of RPGs and things by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But
like GoldenEye, dude. GoldenEye is mostly remembered for its multiplayer experience, but I remember I played the shit out of that game single player. Like, I beat that game.
Yeah.
I beat the single player of that game. I remember I almost lost my eardrums. I don't remember the map, but you could dual wield these machine guns. I remember they were like all silver. There were like these silver machine guns, and nobody was home. I turned the volume on my TV all the way up to the max, and I was like, and I just started shooting the shit out of them, and my ears were in pain for the rest of the day.
Damn.
But yeah, 007 GoldenEye. I remember you get to the end of that game. I want to say the Travelin is the final boss. You fight Travelin, I think his name is, and it's like on like this sky bridge or some shit like that, like a satellite or some crazy
Something
shit.
really cool. All right, so we have been praising the 64 a lot this episode, and good praise has to come with a little bit of slander.
Oh, no.
I love the 64. One of my favorite game systems, but I got to slander it a little bit. I got to.
Let's see.
There's only one glaring flaw.
You guys ready for the fat disagree? Go ahead.
The fucking controller for the 64 is
y'all are
terrible.
Tripping. Y'all are all tripping.
That controller is wild.
No,
can y'all Google
are tripping.
The Nintendo 64 controller right now? You want to talk about the most not ergonomic design ever? That shit.
All right, look.
Okay, he pulled it up.
If you're on Patreon, all right, I got the video right now. Okay, or if you end up seeing this clip on YouTube,
this controller is crazy.
This controller, all right, I'll describe it to you. You know what it looks like, but I'll describe it to you, okay? It looks like a spaceship.
The analog is in the middle, it
looks like a spaceship. It's got 3 prongs, right? Here's the thing. Everybody talks shit on this controller, all right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say it's the best controller ever made.
Don't lie to us.
But it is nowhere near as bad as people say it is. I have this argument till the death. Watch me. All right, ready? I got y'all. So first of all, you can either hold it like this with your hand in the middle, right? And you have your thumb on the control stick. Under here, you have the trigger. You have Z. And then you've got R here. And then you got A, B. You got C buttons and start. It works perfectly fine like a normal controller.
Until you need to use the fucking left side
but
of the
here's
stick.
The thing. They never design any games where you have to use both. So, for example, there'll be a game, because if you just look at this controller, it actually is just, if you ignore the stick, it's an SNES controller, right?
Yeah.
Like this is an SNES controller.
Like blatantly.
And so it has the D-pad. So the way they designed their games was if it was a D-pad game, you would hold the controller on the outside and the stick in the middle would be completely ignored. And you would use the D-pad and you would use R and L. They were smart enough to basically put another L button on the bottom so that when you had to use the stick, you didn't have to press L over here. So like games that used the stick ignored this part of the controller, and games that used a D-pad ignored the middle of the controller. And I think it worked pretty well. It was the advent of the control stick. Like this thing didn't even exist yet. Nintendo invented this.
He is fucking consoles. That controller is garbage.
It's not garbage.
If you guys Google worst controllers in history, Google worst game controllers in history,
it'll be on there. It'll be the N64 and the Dreamcast controller will be on
and
the
also
list.
That first Xbox controller. We can there's some controllers.
But
it's not the worst. It's not the worst. I'm not going to say it's the worst. Like if it was a bottom 10 controllers,
just because everyone agrees it's the worst doesn't mean it's true. Twilight was one of the best-selling movies. Twilight,
Oh, how dare you?
Everybody went to go watch Twilight. Doesn't mean it was a great movie.
Movies are a fucking national treasure. Right? Goddammit! You take that back.
Everybody went to go see the fucking Twilight movies. They sold well. The books sold great.
Fuck you.
Nobody's putting them at the top of the list of greatest movie and books of all time. Okay, they're not in the top 50. That piece of shit. Absolute garbage James Cameron movie called Avatar, the shitty blue people. It's like the best-selling movie of all time, greatest box office hit. That movie is boring as fuck. Dances with Wolves with blue people. It is absolute garbage, and it sucks because it's called Avatar. And when you talk about the good Avatar, The Last Airbender, you always have to preface it with the good Avatar, not the one with the blue people. Because people say, you're talking about the fucking James Cameron movie? No, I'm not talking about bad movies.
We're never talking about that one. We are never talking about the one with blue people, ever.
Anyway, all of that to say is I don't give a fuck what the internet says. The N64 controller is not as bad as people say it is, and it is functional, and it works quite well.
Yeah.
And the Avatar movie made by James Cameron fucking sucks. Also, Titanic is really boring. If you want to go to sleep, watch Titanic. Thirdly, this wasn't supposed to be about James Cameron, but I don't think James Cameron is that good of a director. Eat me.
Is he also the Titanic guy?
James Cameron made Titanic. I think Titanic is so fucking boring. The only thing good that came out of Titanic is near, far.
Yeah, that song.
Wherever you are. Celine Dion. Celine Dion, yeah. That song is a fucking banger. But other than that,
so
Titanic
I went back
sucks.
and watched Titanic, and the movie actually did not age well. Like, it was amazing when we were young and we were children, I guess, because my grandma used to watch it all the time, and I would watch whatever my grandma watched. But watching it as an adult now, that movie did not age well.
No, it did not.
It did not age well at all. Great love story, though. Even though the end of it is kind of stupid, because, Rose, if you don't move your fat ass over and let me get on that damn door so we can both live.
Trash. Was there a Titanic 64 game?
Oh, my God.
I want to look it up. I know that there's not, but like, what if there is?
A Titanic 64 game.
What if there is?
Oh my God,
that'd be crazy. What if we learned that?
So
right
yeah, the Nintendo 64, the controller. You know, I have to. It's the only slander I can really give the system. The system is phenomenal, honestly. What's interesting to me though is that as I was looking at the gaming library before this podcast, I guess gaming libraries in general were just way smaller than what they are like these days.
Yes,
because
I
was expecting hundreds and hundreds of crazy titles, but then I saw it and I was like, oh, it's only like 20 games on the 64 that I really would call like the 64, like what they really made the system.
Yep.
And the rest of it is kind of fodder. Now, don't get me wrong though, the 20 games that it has are fucking iconic as hell. So they're like
really good. I'd
rather take 20 insane games than have, I don't know, 60 games that are all kind of like take it or leave it.
Yeah, the library was definitely a lot smaller when you go back and look at it. You're like, oh wow, there's not 100 games.
Yeah, there's not 100 games for sure.
All like you can rattle off a list of a bunch of games that you can just sink a ton of time into.
There's so many good games though. Like the quality, like Nintendo back then, especially.
The South Park. Did you ever play the South Park game?
I did actually.
I did. Piss on a snowball and throw piss snowballs at people.
And they would curse and shit.
Yeah.
Yo, cursing was just a thing in video games back then. Like Conker's Bad Fur Day wasn't the only one.
It wasn't. It was rare, but it was there.
Like there was at least two.
Because we were kids too. We were like, oh,
cursing was great. It was the best thing in the world. Like I'll put Conker's Bad Fur Day on and turn the volume up just to like get a reaction out of my family.
Oh, I wanted to. You mentioned this earlier. I wanted to just break in the song and go, I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. My huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat? Dum.
Whoa, that is crazy.
That was the great money
starfish. He was literally talking about his asshole.
Oh man!
Damn,
the Great Mighty Pooh song is amazing. That was the first verse. For y'all.
Well, you remembered it, and because you definitely didn't just look that up or anything. Like you actually just broke out in the fucking song. That's wild. I don't remember it word for word like that, but that is just that game. Good times. The Nintendo 64. We'll talk about the PlayStation 1. I guess we'll do like an episode for all of the gaming systems. Obviously,
we can honestly, and it gets at some point it'll get hard. But so I was gonna say it gets easier in a way because they'll have more and more content. But then, like I can't talk. The PS4, I barely fucking touched the PS4.
The PS4, I only played 3 games.
Yeah.
So the Dreamcast, I played a couple games. Power Stone, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Yeah. What's crazy is I played those on Dreamcast, but I've mainly played them on GameCube.
Yes. Yep. Oh, that's actually true. So I did start out playing Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast, but then when it became a GameCube title, that's where I really played it.
Yep.
But yeah, the Dreamcast is not. There's not too much on that system that I played, but the things that I did play were really cool. And like the whole idea of attaching, so it had that big opening where you could attach like a little screen, like an extra screen thing to it, and so you could have your child from Child Garden and Sonic Adventure like come with you, and it was a lot. The PlayStation 2 obviously has a fucking ton of games. The PlayStation 1 has a ton of games.
We're gonna touch on all those. GameCube, the Wii. I'm definitely down to do an episode on basically each of those systems for sure.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be able to do like PS3. I don't think that's going to be like a whole. I don't think we could do. We might have to combine that with like
something else.
PS3, PS4, or something, and Xbox.
We could do that era like PS3 and 360 because that's like an era.
That is an era.
PS3, 360.
It's not a good era, but it is an era.
It's an era, and they were at war with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an era for people who like first-person shooters though, because that's the dawn of first-person shooters becoming the dominant type of game.
Yeah,
like I feel like that's when it happened, right? Like Gears of War, Modern Warfare. Halo, obviously, yeah. Like that is the dawn of first-person shooters basically taking over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of when I started to get out of gaming a bit. Like when first-person shooters were what everyone was playing is when I was like, I'm done with this. Like I'm not, like that's not me.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I'm down to definitely touch on all of those. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on the 64 I want to bring up. I can't think of anything right now. And if I do later at some point, we'll just talk about it at another point. But can you think of anything else?
I can't right now, and I've actually pulled up a list of the top 50 games.
Oh, real quick, I did just think of one because we mentioned it before we started recording. Yoshi Story.
Okay, I did. Yeah, I actually played that to completion, which is so random because I'm not a Yoshi fan in any kind of real way. But I did really like the Yoshi Story games because I feel like you could go into the foreground and the background or something like that.
I think on some of the levels. Did you find the secret Yoshis, like the black Yoshi and the white Yoshi and shit?
Yep, that was a big deal. I think I might even looked it up. But I do remember finding like different color Yoshis. The game was really short. That was the other thing. That game was short as fuck. Like I remember, I don't know if I beat it in a day or if it was like, but I know I beat it in like a weekend. Like it was really quick. But I had an amazing time playing it.
I played that game a lot. And I know after you beat it, like there's a little thing. They stand around this tree and they all sing. The song's supposed to go like, the apple. I'm pretty sure they're singing about this apple.
It's creepy.
But to me, it always sounded like they were saying asshole. And it sounded like they were saying the asshole.
Yep. Very creepy.
Asshole. The asshole.
Is it the same song from Smash was like Dinero?
I think so.
Dinero. I always say dinero because like they're singing about money, but a lot of times when you play on Yoshi's Island and Smash, I guess it's on a couple Smash games, but it has that one song that sounds like they're saying dinero. It's that song you're talking about though.
Yep. So yeah, good times, Yoshi Story.
Yeah. There's probably other things. I mean, well, how about this? To our listeners, let us know what 64 games you absolutely fucking loved. Write into IMNerd Podcast at gmail.com. Let us know how you felt about the 64. Did you grow up on a 64 as well? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you love the controller? Did you hate the controller? Like, let us know what your thoughts are on this episode as a whole.
Yeah, let us know that you're not a sheeple and that you think the controller is great.
Not a sheeple. He's a Nintendo fanboy, which I don't have a problem with because
all right.
I'm a PlayStation fanboy and I'm also a fucking Apple fanboy, so right. I have my vices as well.
Look, I may be a huge Nintendo fan, all right? But I did not buy the Wii U. I'm not a blind fan.
Yo, you actually did not buy the Wii U.
I did not. I
don't know how how did you know not to buy the system?
I remember before the Wii U came out, talking to our friend Medina, and Medina telling me he was going to get it and blah, blah, blah. And I would tell, before it came out, I was like, that system is going to suck. And I was arguing. I don't remember the exact conversation, but I remember arguing about all of the things that were going to be wrong with the system and blah, blah, blah. I knew, like, I've bought and owned every single Nintendo system except the Wii U, and I wear that as a badge of honor because a lot of my friends call me out on being a Nintendo fanboy, and then I like to throw it back in their face being like, but you bought the Wii U and I did not. Because I was like, I know when to hold them. I was like, I'm not buying that piece of shit. Early on, I don't remember my exact arguments and what happened before it came out, but I remember arguing with people before it came out saying that like it wasn't going to be the sauce, and it was not the sauce.
Yeah, you just had that foresight. You didn't get screwed over by people who actually did buy the Wii U.
But definitely let us know like you're just one of your favorite N64 memories of that time period. Sometimes you have memories that aren't specifically in a game, like how I have. The N64 brings up a memory of a fucking sixth grader rock bottom slamming somebody through a table in my school. So cool memories, you know.
There's this one video of these kids thinking that they got a Nintendo 64, and they are screaming.
Wait, were you talking about the one where they did get an N64 though? Because there's
there's a couple. There's the crying Nintendo kid one, and
then
there's the one where
Nintendo 64.
Yes, they lose their fucking minds.
Oh,
and
man.
People may remix, you know how people remix everything. So there's like the Nintendo 64, Nintendo 60, and it's like the kids screaming over and over again.
Imagine you walk downstairs on Christmas morning, you see a big box, you tear it open, and it's Nintendo 64. That shit is top tier. Quick side note. Let me know before you're going to get ready to end because there's a random question I want to ask. It's like a listener letter from me.
Okay, go ahead. You could just shoot it off because I'm going to read out the Patreon after that.
Okay, are we about wrapped up for 64?
Yeah, we're wrapped up.
So before we go, this is absurdly random. This has nothing to do with today's topic, nothing to do with Nintendo 64, and probably nothing to do with being a nerd, unless you're a fashion nerd.
Oh God,
I have no idea what the Met Gala is. Okay, The Met Gala just happened, and I know Fraser is in the fashion.
I know everything about the Met Gala.
Why the fuck? What is the deal with AOC and her dress at the Met Gala? Why? How come I don't know what the Met Gala is. I know nothing about fashion, but I just know everywhere I go, I hear people talking about AOC, her dress, and the Met Gala. What is going on?
So her dress says "Tax the Rich."
I would have never known. I've seen a million different variations.
So apparently, to attend the Met Gala, you do have to pay an outrageous amount of money, like I want to say hundreds of thousands of dollars. But so people were like, "Well, how can you say tax the rich, but you're going to one of the richest events in the world? Like you're literally going to something that is one of the most capitalist, liberal fucking things there is, right?" And I think that she responded and said something along the line, like she didn't actually pay for it. Like she did not pay for herself to go. Someone paid for her to go so that she could deliver this kind of message, like tax the rich.
Okay.
So she's big on that, but it's just a white dress that says tax the rich on it. Other people wore dresses that said peg the patriarchy. There's like eat the rich. You see that thrown out a lot now. But the Met Gala this year's theme was American fashion, basically, was the idea. Every year is something different. Some of them are very, how do I say, pretentious. For example, one year it was heavenly bodies, and what does that
even mean?
Like, what is that? Like some of them are just so obscure, and you can interpret it however you want. So people show up looking like anything. But this one was American fashion. So you had like J-Lo showed up looking like a cowboy. She had a dress that was basically cowboy inspired, like Westerns. I didn't like the Met Gala at all really this year. There weren't many looks to draw from. A lot of them just got memed. Kim Kardashian showed up in that one that looks like Shikamaru doing his shadow jutsu. And there was another one.
Wait, is that Kim Kardashian?
That is Kim Kardashian with the all black on.
Dude, I've seen that a bunch of times.
There's the one
never
where
in a million years when I've been
the Revelry and the Dark guy from My Hero Academia, the Flacco character. He there's one where his shadow is her.
Yep,
like there's a couple of them. They've been memeing her to death, but there weren't many good looks. And the sad part is, usually when there's not good looks, there's a lot of memeable looks. But the most meme look that I saw was Kim Kardashian's, and it's not like crazy. It's good for a meme, but it's not like it didn't sustain very long. Like the Met Gala was Monday, and I feel like it's already kind of dead now. Like that you're not gonna get too much more out of that.
I didn't even know what this thing was until 2 or 3 days ago.
It's just a thing for very rich people to kind of come together, and they spend a whole bunch of money. And I think that the money is supposed to so the money is used for something. Is used for people in the arts to make sure that they have like the resources to continue the arts, because it's not free to just be an artist. Like you always hear about the starving artist. So the money is meant to go towards the arts and schools and other artists who just like need the resources. So it is like technically a good cause, but the theme is always really weird and obscure. And even this year when it was American fashion, a lot of people just showed up in designers that were European.
Yeah, I don't understand. If Kim Kardashian was a shadow monster, like what does that have to do with American fashion?
So that's the thing. Like I don't understand what exactly she was like. Where does that bridge between American fashion and just wearing this all black with your face covered? Like I get it. Your husband is technically an American designer, and he's been wearing this like covering my face type thing. So if that is the if that is the bridge that she drew to get like, okay, that's fine. Like, she's allowed to interpret it that way. Like my husband is an American designer.
Iconic American fashion. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I don't really know. It's a bit much for me, and I love fashion, but it's a bit much. The Met Gala is a bit. I mean, it's really the Met Gala, but whatever. It's a bit much for even me.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. I know it was like completely random, but I was like, Fraser knows about fashion, so I'll ask him because I don't know what's going on. But anyway, that was it. I just wanted to ask that.
All right. Well, since we're wrapping this episode up, I just want to give a shout out to our patrons over on Patreon. So we have Connie, Austin, Leon, Xavier, Garen, Quest, and Hylian. We appreciate you guys as always, and we are out of here. Hope you enjoyed.
So long, Gay Bowser.